This story is written by your favorite Sanjay Campbell. An anchor shouts information to the audience in his newsroom. It was. People should also be vigilant. If the truth doesn't come out, an innocent person will have to rot behind bars for the rest of his life. And who would answer it? Considering the mental state of the crazy girl who falsely accused him, the court declared her mentally ill. The decision has been given to send the girl to an asylum and provide her with good treatment, and the hospital has been warned not to treat her as much as possible. Keep your distance because she has a very dangerous disease that won't hesitate to take someone's life. 1 month. Later, an investigative female journalist gets hold of reports detailing the girl's medical condition, her mental illness, and her horrific behavior. Schizophrenia. Hallucinations, Final Stage, was featured in a newspaper. 25-year-old happy-go-lucky girl. What drugs? Was it half past? She thought, twirling the pen between her fingers. Tomorrow morning, go to the mental asylum and see that girl. I want to know about her condition and how she's improved. That girl was kept in a very suffocating room in that mental asylum. Was taken in. The small room was filled with dampness, the bitter smell of medicines, and from a distance, the unmistakable screams of madmen were heard. The tube light inside flickered in the dim light, as if its light was also reflecting the rottenness of the place. You're tired. In the center was a heavy iron bed, covered with thick leather straps. A girl was tied up, her hands tightly tied to the end of the bed. The bandages were so tight that they had left deep scars on her flesh. She was struggling. It was. But all her efforts were futile. Dried blood gleamed from the tips of her nails. Perhaps she had struggled to free herself before. Nurse Sunita, standing in the corner of the room, fixed a cold gaze on the girl. Dolly. There was no expression on his face. Just the electrodes of the shock machine in his hands. Was pressed tightly together. Dr. Sharma moved slowly forward. His wrinkled eyes. Was coldly assessing. As if this were just a medical procedure. Ready? He asked without looking at Sunita. She nodded and turned on the shock machine. No, 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 please, no, the girl muffled her scream. A roar echoed through the room. He was gasping for breath. A rope was tied around his neck. She started to squirm like an animal. Start, the doctor said. Sunita inserted the 2 metal electrodes. He stuck it to the girl's wet forehead. The first jolt of the first switch, and the brisk walk across the room. A voice boomed. The girl's entire body jerked upwards, as if someone had struck her with an iron rod. Was plugged into live electricity. Her eyes turned white. Strands of hair fluttered in the air. Pulled away. Her lips trembled and she began to flare violently. Electricity surged through her body. She ran. Her fingers were rubbing together. Her nails were covered in blood. It was a terrifying scream echoed through the room. Her back arched so high with the jolt. The bones below his shoulders began to crack. His leg bones hit the edge of the bed, and the straps became so tight. The veins beneath the skin began to turn blue. The second shock. Under the girl's bent neck. A thin stream of saliva flowed out from. But the doctor ignored Sunita's hesitation. Turn on the switch. This time the shock was even more devastating. His jaw clenched tightly. The muscle writhed so hard that the vein in his neck bulged out. Came. The only sound in the room was the eerie sound of the jolts. The screeching sound of electricity and the crunching of bones. The terror of the searing pain. The girl's eyes were now fixed. Her lips were tightly pursed. Was fluttering. But he no longer had the strength for words. His nose dripped onto the floor. Red blood, just stop it. Sunita stammered, one more doctor. The order came. But switch on. The girl's body took one last, impossible jolt. His back arched completely. His neck bent at a strange angle. His eyes went white. His face was pale. But then his eyes opened and he stirred. She was laughing. A slow, cold, sinister laugh. Sunita looked back, trembling. The girl's broken voice echoed through Dhaka. There was a signal from an unseen force. Dr. Sharma's eyes narrowed. The girl's pupils. She slowly rose upstairs, and then all the lights in the room flickered off, breathing stopped. Dr. Sharma stepped back. But then the girl's body started to move again. It jolted. But this time it wasn't caused by lightning. Its yellow eyes glowed. And his face went blank. There was only an eerie, terrifying silence in the room. Seeing this, Dr. Sharma said, "Take him to your room and close the door tightly. This is very dangerous." Dr. Sharma. Drive home. It's raining heavily outside. Long journey to the hospital. The screeching of stretcher wheels echoed through the cold streets. Sunita and two odd boys carried the girl back to her room. It was going to be. His thin, withered frame still trembled with gentle tremors. It was thundering outside. It was raining. Water seeped in through the old, rusty windows of the hospital. The entire building was shaking with the crackling of lightning, and each flash of lightning echoed. Some patients would retire to their beds. Some would sleep, others would mutter. "It seems to be. They're coming. They're coming. They're coming to pick us up." Sunita didn't respond. She just wanted to finish quickly and get out of here. They carried the stretcher through a narrow alley to room 313. Stop in front. The old iron door was rusted and had deep holes in it. The nail marks looked even more frightening now. But the boy opened the door and Sunita. The girl's lifeless body was placed on the bed. Her eyes were open, but there was no life in her. She was staring straight at the ceiling, as if she was looking at something. "Oh, she's laughing again." Sunita looked back. A smile appeared on the girl's dry, cracked lips. There was a slight, awkward smile. "Shut up. Don't overthink it," the other Wat boy whispered. They quickly untied the bandages from his hands and feet. But the headband remained on. "Now, let's go," Sunita said coldly. They all left the room, slamming the door shut. Was called, and the thick iron lock was slammed shut. The rain had intensified. Lightning. The thunder continued to pound. The shadows within the hospital grew darker and darker. In the dark room of the mental asylum, a dim light swayed. Between the white walls, an iron bar covered with a white sheet and a girl lay lifeless, unconscious. But a storm was raging within her eyes. Only his eyes knew how many screams were hidden behind this suffocating silence. Her body lay there. But those thoughts echoed in my mind. This girl is crazy. He is mentally ill. Such patients can be dangerous to society. Your Honor, please send him to a hospital at government expense as soon as possible. He should be admitted to a mental hospital so that no one else's life is ruined. The silence of the night fell upon the entire mental hospital. It was heavy rain pounded against the windows, making a terrifying sound. The white flashes of lightning every few minutes were freezing the shadows in the corridors. A.M. Sunita, a night shift employee at the hospital, was on her routine rounds. Dark corridors. The flickering light of the tube lights flickering on and off from onwards was making the atmosphere even more frightening. The patients were in deep sleep and some were swaying on their beds, muttering. In a corner far away, an old woman was muttering some mantra in a low voice, as if communicating with some invisible force. Sunita's steps slowly approached the end of the ward. He approached room number 313 at the end. He felt a strange sense of unease. But he placed himself in the plant. As he looked inside through the small hole above the door, my heart sank. Lying on the bed was the same girl who had received shock treatment just hours earlier. It was. But his eyes were still open, staring straight at the ceiling. No blinking. Not a blink. No movement, no breath. Sunita's throat went dry. She felt herself. Took a deep breath to calm myself down and started thinking maybe it was just a coincidence, maybe he. You kept your eyes open even while sleeping, as is the case with many mentally ill people. But something was still strange. Sunlight shone through the room. It was dark. The only light came from the dim tube lights outside in the corridor. The girl's face looked even paler and more frightening. Sunita gathered her courage and went out the door. I opened the lock and slowly stepped inside. As I entered the room, I felt a strange chill. It was the windows were closed. Yet, there was a strange heaviness in the air, as if some unseen force was there. The girl was still there. Absolutely lifeless, absolutely lifeless. Sunita. I slowly walked closer to the bed and examined her face. Her pupils were dilated. Her skin was white and pale. She was bluish, as if all the blood had been sucked out and sent somewhere else. Sunita's heartbeat was fast. It was he shook the girl's shoulder with a slightly trembling hand. There was no movement. He shook her harder. Still no response. Her throat was completely dry now. He placed 2 fingers near the girl's nose. No breathing. She began to shiver. It was. She quickly grabbed the girl's wrist. She felt her pulse. Nothing. No pulse, no movement. She was dead. Sunita pulled her hand back in panic. His palm felt cold. It was as if the cold of the girl's dead body had touched his skin. It must have been. With trembling hands, he took out his mobile and dialed Dr. Sharma's number. The bell rang. "Hello, it's Dr. Sharma's turn." A sleepy voice was heard. "Doctor." Sunita's voice was trembling. "What happened to that patient who received shock treatment today?" "She's dead." There was silence on the other end of the line for a few seconds. "Then what?" "Are you talking nonsense? She was fine just a few hours ago." "No, sir, she's stopped breathing. Her body has gone cold. It's fine." "I'm coming," the doctor said, hanging up. Sunita hung up, looking back at the bed. The girl was still in the same position. It was, but something had changed. His eyes were now fixed directly on Sunita, instead of the ceiling. She was looking at seeing this, the phone fell from Sunita's hand.